Hi, it's Tyron here with another weekly analysis. Now I'm not going to go through every single pair because I am a long-term trader, and to save time there's no point me scanning every single pair. So I'm going to look through very quickly to the trade setups that I've deleted and put on and explain why. Now I'm going to keep going over my core strategy, which incorporates these three time frames. The high time frame, they're all high time frames, but the high time frame, intermediate time frame, which is middle time frame, and the low time frame. So I'm mainly looking on the high time frame and even the middle time frame here, the pattern that I'm trying to trade, if there's profit margin really, and then the low time frame gets me in. Now there's different conditions from trending to ranging, and pretty much I'm just playing the profit margin. That's how I have made money. My reward to risk. I have plenty of losses but big winners, and it keeps me profitable. There's many ways to make money in trading, and more than plenty of ways to lose it, but this is what works for me. So this is why I'm showing you these live trades. Just talking briefly, you can see the CAD Swiss one. Just go through them very quickly. The CAD Swiss, not much change in there. Been in this for, this is the third month, coming up to the end of the third month now. I'm just waiting for it to break lower. If it breaks lower, this is what I'm going for, this target down here. And you notice I've got a 2 position size on this, because originally when I took this I was looking for 2 targets, but I'm quite confident in this, and because the count's quite low, I'm going to try and get down to this target and maybe manage a stop or a not a physical stop. I'm not going to trail this down too tightly, but maybe a mental stop, manage a mental stop. So if price starts to change, break one of these trend lines, or a steeper trend line, then maybe I'll close half the position. So that's the CAD Swiss. Look at the Aussie New Zealand. Again, I'm just going to drill this back, monthly back out. It is a big kind of range bound with a slight wedge shaped pattern, so I want to be short in this, and that's what I'm doing right now. If we look at the daily, that's all I'll look at that. I just want to be shorting. So as you're already aware, I'm already shorting this. Got in at this little level up here, and prices dropped. We're basing at the moment. The weekly is in an uptrend, but again, this higher time frame is telling me the probability and the profit margin is to the short side, so that's why I'm taking a gamble short. Quite simple. The pound Swiss. Now we've closed above. I did talk about this. Could be a fake out, but looking for longs, and I had this level here, and there was also this level here, which I nearly got stopped out on, but I haven't, and it is ranging. So I don't know where this price is going to go. I'm just looking at the fact that we were in a range and we could be breaking out, and we're now in a weekly uptrend, so I was going by the daily uptrend level. If I would have had my stop here, I would have been stopped out, and then looking to this little range, probably looking when price starts to break out from this little range to get back on board. So I'm hoping that price pushes higher on the pound Swiss. The New Zealand dollar, this one I'm looking at shorting, similar to the pound Swiss in reverse. We've come down to this low, and you can see we've just gone below this low here with a weekly close below. So we had a weekly trend down, the daily's down into this level. I've shorted, and the market seems to be rolling over, but we don't know what's going to happen yet. Also, this trend line has been broken, so you know, price could range here. It's a range bound market. When the trend line's broken, potentially could stop me out and push higher, which means it's a fake out, and profit target may well be back up in this region, or at least to this, in my opinion, to this 7100 area. On the Aussie dollar, completely opposite. I'm buying the Australian dollar because we're down to this trend line touch. It's just a nice pattern. Price has pushed up considerably high here, so I'm looking at the fact that as it rolls down, strength will be on the upside. But who knows? This could be potentially a, if I reduce out, it is a flag formation to the upside, so potentially a range up and then a breakdown for a big move I've already predicted possibly all the way down to these lows right over here on the left. So keep an eye on that. Right, orders. I did delete some pound orders that I had on last week. So I'll just go through the pound very quickly. First of all, the pound Aussie, I've got a sell limit. I did have an order already because we're right up into this range level. I did have an order to short. I've deleted it, and the reason why is because we created on the 240 a drop. I had a order to short here, didn't quite reach high enough, and it's made a lower low, and we're just basing here. And if you look in the daily, I can't really read this. If anything, I expect this to maybe make another, it's like a flag, another push higher. So my next order is at the extreme of this monthly, if price reaches that high, which is over here to the left on the daily, which is the extreme of the monthly. So I like playing these monthly extremes. They don't happen that often, and when they're there, a bit like that CAD Swiss that I've been in for a few months, and I want to get on board and take a gamble. So I've cancelled that. Keep an eye on this though. If we start to produce some levels of supply and this momentum, in fact, let's drop this to the 240 a moment, and this kind of general momentum is breaking here, we start to produce some supply levels, so strong moves down. There may be some pullbacks to enter for shorts already, but it's a little bit aggressive now based on the way this daily is looking. It's a good chance you're going to get stopped out as price reaches for higher levels. That was the pound Aussie. Let's have a look at the pound CAD. Now this is it's a bit of a weird one because of this big wick here, but we are in a range bound market now because we broke the trend line. I've not made a second higher high. I've not really made a higher high yet. I wouldn't class it. It is up one higher high from the trend line in these levels, but you know, it's a range bound market till we start really pushing higher. There's not a lot of room up, so I'm not really trading this anywhere at the moment. I'm just going to stay away from the pound CAD. The pound Swiss, we've already spoke about the pound Swiss. Let's move on. Pound yen. Pound yen definitely in an uptrend on this monthly. If I zoom back out, not the best movements at the moment, but we've got potential to reach up here really, but we've got this level in the way here we've got to be careful of. The only thing is the weekly is kind of, it's in a bit of a pattern here. The weekly, we're definitely got this demand level below, but with this strong move and the way price is reacting, this is what I'm keeping an eye on, this little pattern here. If we break to the upside, then I'm going to look to go in long. Breaking to the downside, I'm not going to go against this monthly, so I'm only looking for longs if we break this weekly level and start to get on board some moves to the upside. So we'll wait out on that. Pound New Zealand, definitely in an uptrend, although we've already moved quite far. Doesn't mean it's going to retrace. It could continue all the way up. We've got loads of room to the upside. Weekly level of demand, and we had this daily level. I had an order here, I've cancelled it only again because of this price action. If I drill it down to the 240, if we look at what's going on, it's just like a push up, a bit of a flag. There's a whole load of fucking mess going on here that I'm not really sure. You know, we've broken the 240. It could be started to progress up. Having said that, there's no real sense of direction. There's nothing clean. I'd rather let this push a bit higher than look for a retracement into a daily level. So that could happen this week. Let me just enlarge that. So we could have a push higher above this high with a close above. Then I may look to pull back by the end of the week, if not next week. Quick look at the pound dollar. Again, uptrend coming into this trend line touch, so I'm just staying away from that at the moment. Simple as that. Other orders I've got on here. The pound Aussie we already spoke about. The New Zealand yen, let's just do that one. I haven't got it on this chart. Let me just set that up very quickly, because I want to talk about all the trades that I put on. Again, my main account is not on this computer, and I think I'll look at a few more pairs that's showing what's showing on here. Right, let's save this one as a New Zealand. Right, so I've got a New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. Again, this is a nice range bound market. We broke, let's break this one down, it's not on here. This is how I would look at it. We broke this trend line from the recent two pivot highs into what we'd call a range bound market. Then very cleanly there is a level here that we have spiked above, but it's still a range bound nature of this move, range bound market. And the reason it's continuing that range is although we made a slightly higher high, we've broken it. So this is a range bound market, and all I'm doing is looking to go long at this extreme, which is right down here, and I'm placing an order in already because price could be reacting. We've had this green weekly candle, could be a drop base and then a breakout to the downside, and I have my stop, the usual 25 pips below the low. So if I do get stopped out, I'll have to see what happens over the next week. If I look at the 240 and drill that back out, I like to have a bit of perspective. You see this long strong move, you could say from here down. This is the range. This is why now I've got a short down in this area. Price has tried to reach it, if anything it's touched it, but not triggered because of the spread. So we'll see what happens over the next few hours, if I might get entry. But that's where I'm actually going long with this big monthly range. Very simple. Right, dollar, Singapore dollar. I've got two limits on this. There's a reason why. It's basically two positions. I've got two targets. One of them is based on this weekly range, because this is a range bound market. We've broke the trend line and price has bounced from this area now, right here. I'll use that wick, and we've taken out this level. So to me, this is a range bound market, okay, until price tells me otherwise, till we break these lows. It's kind of trending here on supply and demand, but I'm basing it on the trend line, because if you look at this area of demand, we got took out here. It's the same as this area, you know, price is taking it out, and then we're starting to take the trend line out again. So I'm going to rely a little bit more on the trend line breaks, giving me this range bound market. And the reason I've got an entry right down here, because of this massive monthly range, I'm not going to take a gamble. What I see happening, if you look at this candle, I really want to explain this in detail, so I'm going to enlarge this. If you look at this big monthly pattern, price is in an uptrend and we've pulled back. The thing is, we're range bound. You can see if we pulled all the way back, right away deep into this demand, it's a range bound market. And what's going to happen is we're going to attack these lows to break them. This is what's going to happen, is where the stops are. So I'm trying to put my stop where the big guys are putting their stop. So it's below 25 pips below this candle low, okay, which is 1.3310. So I've got 1.3285. So you'll see that here, 1.3285, and I've got one target on the weekly and one on the monthly all the way up here. So very good reward to risk ratio trade. Now what I'm looking at is, this is getting near the end of the month. We could close here, everybody's going to start shorting this, a little drop, base drop, and the bigger picture, I always ignore these levels, okay. The bigger picture is ranging, and we will just eat through supply levels if we're ranging. In fact, that's where the stops are going to be, which is why I go for these targets, because it fuels the price to rally or drop depending on which direction. So if price keeps coming down here, I expect it to take these lows out, which is why I got my target, my entry just inside this candle. So if I drilled it down and have a look on the daily, you can see it's right at this extreme, and my stop is below these levels, or below this level, which is the monthly, 25 pips below. So that's what I'm looking at. Okay, first target, so I've got 2 positions in a second, because if I'm not around and it's a range bound market, it will just take the profits automatically. So that was my latest setup, and everything else has been deleted, and I've not really found much else. It looks like I'm going to have to wait a couple of weeks. If I was to go through all the charts and explain that, it would be quite boring, but I'm just waiting for price to dictate where it's going to get on board any other setups. And that is it, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and safe trading.